A hospital meant to be a place where lives are saved, where sick children receive medicine, where doctors have equipment they need, where every rand spent can mean the difference between life and death. But inside Tembisa Hospital, investigators would later uncover something very different. Millions of rands meant for healthcare were allegedly being chiffoned through questionable tenders. Companies appeared overnight. Contracts were repeatedly awarded. Payments were allegedly structured to avoid stricter procurement controls. And while patients waited for treatment, some people were becoming incredibly rich. Luxury homes, a fleet of Lamborghinis, a Bentley, a speedboat, and a lifestyle worth hundreds of millions of rands. One woman saw what was happening. She refused to stay silent. Her name was Barbita Dekaran. Weeks after warning her colleagues that their lives could be in danger, she was murdered outside her home. And today we follow the money, the investigation, the convictions, and the extraordinary moments when the state seized an empire allegedly built on corruption. Barbita Dekaran was not a politician. She was not a police officer. She wasn't famous. She worked as a senior finance official in the Gauteng Department of Health. Her job was simple: protect public money, ensure payments followed the law, prevent fraud. People who worked with her described her as a meticulous professional, respected. She believed taxpayers deserved accountability. By 2021, South Africa's healthcare system had already been battered by COVID-19. Hospitals were under immense pressure. Budgets were stretched. Medical staff were exhausted. Yet behind the scenes, Barbita noticed something unusual. Payments flowing from Tembisa Hospital didn't seem right. The same suppliers appeared repeatedly. Many invoices were just below 500,000. That number would become critically important. South African procurement rules require additional oversight once contracts exceed a certain threshold. Investigators later alleged that numerous contracts were deliberately kept just under 500,000. According to later investigations by National Treasury Specialist Audit Service Unit, this pattern appeared repeatedly. Rather than one large tender, multiple smaller payments were allegedly issued. Critics say this allowed procurement rules to be bypassed more easily. Barbita noticed it. She started asking questions, reviewing invoices, checking supplier histories, looking for patterns. What she found worried her. One WhatsApp message has become one of the most haunting pieces of evidence connected to the story. Weeks before she died, Barbita messaged her supervisor and she wrote, "Morning CFO, I am just worried that the guys in Tembisa are going to realize we are not releasing payments and know that we are onto something. Our lives could be in danger." Just days later, she sent another message. She hoped permission would finally be granted to investigate. She believed the suspicious payments needed urgent scrutiny. But according to later reports, the investigation inside the department never properly happened. The morning of the 23rd August 2021. It was just after sunrise. Barbita was leaving her home in Monjo, Johannesburg. She climbed into her vehicle. She never reached work. Gunmen opened fire. She was killed in broad daylight. The assassination shocked South Africa. It also raised immediate questions. Was the matter connected to her work? Authorities launched investigations. Although 6 men were later convicted for carrying out the murder, the broader questions about who may have benefited from her death have remained the subject of continuing the investigation and public debate. No court has found that any individuals implicated in the hospital corruption investigation ordered her murder. While police investigated the murder, other investigators followed the finances. Journalist Jeff Weeks continued examining the procurement trail. The National Treasury later conducted its own review. The findings were significant. According to the NPA, Treasury Specialized Audit Services Unit concluded that 14 entities allegedly controlled by businessman Hangwani Maumela appeared to have benefited irregularly or unlawful from contracts worth more than 400 million awarded by Tembisa Hospital. Investigators described numerous procurement irregularities and manipulation of tender processes. Those findings became the basis for civil asset forfeiture proceedings. While investigators were tracing contracts, they were also tracing assets. The alleged proceeds of corruption had funded an extraordinary lifestyle. Court papers detail luxury homes in Sandhurst and Bantry Bay, 4 Lamborghinis, a Bentley Continental GT V8, a boat, a trailer, millions invested in property. In total, assets valued at approximately 326 million were identified for forfeiture. For many South Africans, the contrast was striking. Hospitals struggled with shortages. Patients waited for treatment. Yet investigators alleged that enormous wealth had been accumulated through public health contracts. Unlike criminal trials, which can take years, South Africa's Asset Forfeiture Unit can seek to confiscate assets believed to be proceeds of unlawful activity through civil proceedings. In August 2025, authorities obtained a provincial preservation order. The assets were frozen. Then came the breakthrough. In July 2026, the Gauteng High Court confirmed the final forfeiture order. The state officially took ownership of 6 luxury properties, 4 Lamborghinis, a Bentley, a boat, a trailer, additional high-value assets, together valued at approximately 326 million rand. It was one of the most significant civil asset forfeiture victories arising from the Tembisa Hospital corruption investigation. According to NPA, proceeds from the sale of the forfeiture assets will be paid into the criminal asset recovery account. The funds are intended to be ring-fenced for the benefit of the Gauteng Department of Health, with oversight by the Criminal Asset Recovery Committee to help ensure they are used appropriately. National Director of Public Prosecution, Advocate Andy Mutubi, said, "Corruption deprives South Africans of adequate health care, medicine, and essential medical equipment, making successful asset recovery an important form of accountability. Although the forfeiture represents a major legal victory, many questions remain unanswered. Who designed the procurement scheme? How many public officials were involved? Why were warning signs not acted upon sooner? Reports have indicated that some officials implicated in the broader procurement irregularities left the department without facing completed disciplinary proceedings. Meanwhile, investigations into the wider corruption network continues. The full picture has yet to emerge. Barbita Dekaran never saw justice. She never saw the luxury cars seized. She never saw the court orders. She never saw the millions returned to the state. But years after her death, the investigation she helped begin continues to have consequences. The seizure of assets worth hundreds of millions of rands stands as a reminder that financial crime can leave a trail, and that even if justice is slow, it can still arrive. Yet, the story is not over. The larger criminal investigation continues. The search for accountability continues. And for South Africans, Barbita Dekaran's name has come to symbolize the personal cost of standing up against corruption. If her story touches anything, it is that corruption is never just about money. It affects hospitals, patients, families, and ultimately the trust people place in public institutions.